Hi and welcome back to the It's a Girl Thing podcast. It's me, Kate, and we're here for another day, another chit-chat, another you and me session. Well, happy Sunday? I honestly am losing track of the days of the week, so thank you for bearing with me and thank you for tuning in today. Well, I think it's been about 2 weeks since we've had an episode now, and I'm trying to get back into a routine, one every week, give you the best of my life and hopefully connect to the best of your life, because we'll either be in very similar or very different places, and regardless, I'm just so happy you're here. Well, if you want to be more involved in the podcast, make sure you're following along on your favourite streaming platforms as well as your favourite social medias, Instagram, TikTok. You'll find us there at It's a Girl Thing Pod. And if you want to follow my personal TikTok, I post some podcast content there, but mostly just a little bit of my life. It's at Hey, it's Kate Grace. So I hope to see you there. I also want to just go out of my way to say thank you, because this last year and a bit has been a whirlwind of craziness. It has been such an honor and a blessing to have this small platform and this wonderful community of friends that I get to connect with and chat with and know that I'm not alone, and I hope that in that you know you're not alone. It's just incredibly special to me, and I'll forever owe that to you, so I thank you. And this is more than just me chatting to a microphone and posting a few videos on Instagram. It's our friendship, I'd like to think anyway. I'd like to think that I'm friends with all of you, and that because you know so much about me, and I know parts about you because you're tuning into these episodes, so I know within reason you relate to at least some stage what I've been through. Either that or you're just here because you sometimes like to hear the stupidity of somebody else's life, and hey, if that's me and it makes you smile, I'm happy to be that place. So today we're going to talk on both like a surface level and a little bit deeper. We're going to talk about the safe spaces in our lives, more so about the people in our lives, how we can be safe spaces for our friends and family, but also who are our safe spaces and what can we do to find other safe spaces if we need them. So before you're like, Kate, let's do a quick debrief about your life and why we're talking about safe spaces. Well, I am a girl who has always felt a little bit like a burden to other people, even though I'm not. And I've always felt like sometimes questionable about whether or not I can go to certain people when things are going wrong or when I just need somewhere to turn. So I think it's important that we as individuals, myself included, learn how we can be better safe spaces for other people, knowing that I felt like that. And in turn, it'll help me learn by becoming that person who are my safe spaces. So I have obviously safe spaces, and it's incredibly important to me that I have those outlets, because trying to do it all by yourself is great until it's not. So what does being a safe space mean? It means allowing the people you love and care about to come to you in the good, the bad, and the ugly. It means if they need somebody to even just be, like, one of my favorite things, my love language is like quality time and giving gifts. My friends and family know that for sure. But I love quality time with my whole heart. Like the other night, I had a couple of my girls that I'm really close with at uni up in my room, and they had little drinks, and I had one of my little mocktails because I prefer that. And we were just chilling, we were scrolling on our phones, we were sharing memories on Snapchat that we'd had over the last few months over placement and stuff when we hadn't seen each other because I was at a different placement centre to them, and we all had our own little lives going on over the summer. So we were debriefing, and I was just giving them a little shoulder massage, and we were just talking, and we were braiding hair and doing all sorts of things, and it was just that time with each other where I knew that they were safe spaces for me. And knowing that it was also the power of just being able to be. But there's also the element of being a safe space that means you need to be able to actively listen, you need to be able to support and offer advice and just be a confidential, non-judgmental space for other people. So how do we become a safe space for the people around us? Firstly, start thinking about the safe spaces you have. Who are your safe spaces, and why are they safe spaces? Are they non-judgmental? Do they let you express whatever you're feeling and actually listen? Or do they instantly try and jump in and tell you some kind of story about their lives to try and make you relate, but it really just makes you wonder if they're actually listening to you and the depth of your struggle? So I think it's really important that we also ask what the person needs in that moment. Do they need a hug? Do they need somebody to just sit with them and just have somebody else's presence as they work through whatever moment it is that they're having? Do they want advice? Or do they really just want to be able to rant and release all those thoughts and feelings and opinions or whatever it is that's holding them back just to somebody else? So make sure you know what that person is needing when they come to you initially so that you can be that, so you don't provide, not that you can provide the wrong thing, but it might not be as beneficial as it could be if you aren't listening to their needs. Also, being able to consistently be there. Like, I know we can't give everybody else in the world 100% of ourselves all the time because we'd have nothing left and we couldn't pour anything into ourselves. It's like they're saying you can't pour from an empty cup, because you really can't. Honestly, try it. You won't get anywhere. But just being able to give a small part of yourself, even if it's, say we're 100%, even if you can consistently give the people who are coming to you 10%, because 10% of yourself is still a lot. That's a tenth of your entire being. That's probably like, I was going to say the whole size of my head, but I don't think that's quite mathematically correct. But it's like, for the sake of my argument, it's like giving somebody my head. I can't regrow my head, but like I can fill my cup back in the time between the first time they seek me as a safe space and the next time they then need me as a safe space. Because I can fill into my cup so that I can then pour back that 10%. It's being able to be there, but not have to give up everything you've got. Because if you give 100% or even 90% the first time, it's going to take so long to fill yourself back up that if they come to you as a safe space again, you're not going to have anything to give them. Also, just being able to check in with people. Like, a genuine, how are you doing? Like, and if you get the like, good or not too bad, how are you really doing? I do want to know. You've got to like connect. Like, I want to know how you're doing. If you need somebody to ask this week, how are you really doing? How are you beyond the surface? An answer that isn't just fine, not good, good, not too bad. I want to know. So if you need to tell someone about your week, go, spill it in my DMs. I promise I'll respond. And sometimes it's just nice to hear that somebody cares. And I do. Sorry, I've written things down because I lose my train of thought all the time, and you should know this by now. Okay, so we've talked about how we can be a safe space for other people, but how do we find a safe space of our own? Because we can't be safe spaces for other people if we don't have our own safe spaces. I feel like I've said the word safe space so many times in the last little bit, but at the same time, maybe it'll hit home for you. Repetition, study techniques. Sorry, sidetracked. But find your own safe spaces. Who do you trust? Who do you trust not to go and, if you tell them something important to you, who do you trust that they're not then going to go and pass that information on or tell the next person? Who do you trust with the most vulnerable parts of yourself, but also the greatest news in the world, and trust not to bring you down? Where do you feel at ease? Because your safe spaces can be people and places. In this case, I'm mostly talking about people. But also there's places where you can just feel way more at ease. Like some people it's like the beach, some people it's when they're out walking. You might find that when you're walking with other people, it's much easier for you to open up and be one with getting into that safe space with somebody else. So you've got to do what works for you and what makes you comfortable and what makes you allow yourself to lean into the safe space. It's okay to let yourself go to other people. You are not a burden. You are not an inconvenience. We would rather you came to us as safe spaces than think you aren't worthy of anything and then choose to leave this world. We would rather you chose to be vulnerable with us now before it's too late, because we love you and we care. And I think that's important, is also then knowing you've got your safe spaces, your friends and your family or whoever it might be in your life. But there is also a point sometimes where you might need a professional safe space, a therapist, a counsellor, someone, even like teachers at school, being able to have other people in your life that are safe spaces, not necessarily so you don't like burn out your friends and family, but because sometimes it's easier to talk to somebody who has no bias towards a situation or doesn't have certain opinions about you. They just are looking at you from a professional standpoint and how can I help you? And finally, I want to talk about your own personal safe space. You can be your own safe space. And she says as she throws her notes away. I had a few more notes on here. Like, what are things that you can do that put you at ease and allow you to do things? Well, I quite like to journal from time to time, and actually, I'm going to be vulnerable with you, and people will probably laugh and people will think it's silly. But I'm going to be honest, I'm writing a journal at the moment to my future husband. It's kind of like my way of journaling, but I'm writing as if I'm telling somebody these things, because one day, even if he never reads it, but like one day I hope he reads it, because it'll give him an insight to my life and how I think and I act. And in a way, it actually encouraged me to write a journal and to actually put my feelings out in another way and feel like I've told somebody, but I don't have to deal with the repercussions of telling somebody things that are secret or things that I don't actually want to tell somebody in that moment. So it's been actually very good for me. And it sounds silly, but it works for me. And that's really what matters. Because I used to have like a Dear Diary where I would, Dear Diary, today was da-da-da-da. Whereas now I write to him like he's just a friend or just a person in my life, an important person in my life. So I'm liking that. You can also meditate, just whatever kind of meditation, whether you want a guided one, whether you just want to put some like nice soothing music or nature sounds on and just focus on your breathing and focus on letting those thoughts just wash away. Whether it's prayer, whether it's praying to God or whoever you believe in, just expressing those thoughts and feelings to somebody else that isn't isn't a physical person. I also find like walking exercise. I'm quite into the gym at the moment, and sometimes it's easier to just physically work through it with myself and be able to do stuff with my body and my hands to release the feelings that I've got in my body that might not even be words. Because a lot of the time when we need safe spaces, we don't even always just need words, we just need comfort. And that comes in different ways for everybody. And also just whatever you can do that's important to connecting with yourself. This is different for everyone, so I can't even make too many suggestions. But like, I truly think it's so important that we find these safe spaces in our lives and we become safe spaces for other people. Like, it is the biggest blessing in my life when the people around me feel comfortable to come and share things with me or come and journey things with me and want me to be involved with their life more. That makes me feel so loved and makes me feel like I've done things right. Like I am a loving enough person that they trust me to be that space. Well, I just thought, while we wrap up, I can tell you a little about where I'm at the moment in life in general, because I feel like we're being a little bit vulnerable. I feel a little bit lost at the moment, in all honesty. I've just recently moved back to uni and we've just had our first little short week of classes. And I don't quite know. I'm like getting back into routine, and I love routine, so that'll make things feel a bit better. But I miss my church, I miss my friends and my family. But I also love being here and I love some of the independence. So it's a very mixed bag of feelings for me at the moment. I'm also just exploring those emotions and where they lead me and like what we're focusing on. So I'm choosing to try and focus on the good, but I'm also not going to let all the bad feelings bottle up until it explodes and everything seems bad, because not everything's bad. So that's my little ramble for you. It's okay to feel a little bit lost, because you'll find yourself again. I promise. Might not feel like it, but you will. Once again, I really am so happy you're here, and I thank you for joining me in my safe space. You guys are my safe space. You're one of my many safe spaces. And so I thank you for being my safe space. I thank you for allowing me to be vulnerable and letting me trust you enough that we can have these conversations. And I thank you for your support each and every day. And I hope that for every guest we continue to have on here, they feel it's a safe space as well. And I do want to say we've got a very exciting guest interview coming up that I'm looking forward to sharing. I interviewed Genevieve Mora this week. We had a chat all about her lived experiences, mental health, just her life in general, and what all of that looks like and how we can step forward in our mental health and really believe that hope is real. And I'm super excited to share that chat with you. If you've got other guests you'd love to hear from, honestly, let me know. I'm constantly reaching out to people and trying to find people that I connect with and that I think you guys will connect with as well. So I hope you have the best week, and I will hopefully, very, very hopefully, should do. See you next week. Goodbye.